Hi guys, how are you doing? It is 96.9 or 99.3. Well, it actually is my YouTube channel and my Instagram live. How are you doing? Today, I'm going to be talking about bride price as a form of modern day slavery. A lot of people would not agree with me on these points, but I'll very gladly run you through these so you can know. How are you doing, Shupavon? I see you and I see the rest of you. Bride price as a form of modern day slavery. Let's discuss this. Okay? Let's start with a prayer. Heavenly Father, I come before you to thank you for the gift of life. I thank for the gift of love. I thank for direction. I thank you for healing. I thank for your wisdom. And I ask that that wisdom does not depart from this generation. In Yahushua's mighty name I pray. And all the good people in the house all said, Amen. So, bride price as a form of modern day slavery. Inasmuch as I'm fighting colonization and colonialism and neo-colonialism and imperialism, I've got to also be extremely careful. You see, if our traditions and cultures were nice and friendly and showed gender equality or gave equal opportunities to people from both genders, the white man's traditions and cultures will not be so enticing. One of the reasons why they were able to penetrate us was because our own traditions were wicked. We were wicked to one another. And I'll give you the examples of female circumcision, for instance. It's an act of wickedness. There's no moral, physical, emotional justification for it. I'll give you the example of killing of twins too. Another example is when you divorce a man, you give him his children. Another example is if you live under a man's house in some cultures, even if you have a child from outside, as long as it is born inside that man's house, inside the marriage, the child belongs to the man. These are ridiculous, senseless cultures. And although the concept of bride price itself is a benign concept, it's not a malignant concept, it's not a dangerous concept, but in the hands of wicked people, especially in a patriarchal society, it becomes dangerous. If a bride price is something cute, like, oh, my son's getting married and he gives 1K or something ridiculous that is a joke that we laugh about, is different. You hear statements like, Musanwo, I have paid your bride price. It gives men an unnatural advantage. And although it might be symbolized in the scriptures, although there are very many examples of bride price in the scriptures, I can tell you that there are not many bride price examples in Christianity. Because the scriptures are chauvinist. You can't run away from that. Women were more or less property. You can't avoid that. There's no way. I would be a liar if I told you that the scriptures treated men and women equally. Christ treated everyone equally. But until the coming of Christ, a woman couldn't even divorce her husband. It was only the men that were allowed to divorce. And if a man divorces, he can remarry. But if a woman divorces, she can never remarry. So that's not the kind of society I want to raise my daughters in. That's not the kind of society I want to raise my sons in. And then tomorrow you come up with all sorts of statement or issues like, this person harassed this girl. It all comes or stems from a culture where a woman is not allowed to own her own body. And we need to address this. If the culture of bride price were, how do I put it, a benign culture, something that is fun and cute, kissing under the mistletoe, it's European, but it's fun, it's cute, right? Santa Claus, I disagree with it. I don't see why it's a part of Christianity, but it's cute. Cute old man comes to give you gift, cute. Christmas tree is cute. But divorcing a woman and keeping her children is not cute. Female circumcision is not cute. These are harsh realities that people have to deal with amidst lots of pain. I know what it's like to be with a woman who was circumcised. It's a difficult uphill half the time task. And yet, it's part of our culture. It's right before our eyes. Oh, the next thing we'll say is the white men came and they took away our culture. No, your cultures themselves are bad. Your cultures suppress women. And the worst cultures are the African cultures of the last 300 years. Or the last 200 years. Those are the worst because they are not really African cultures. That's why I had a whole session dedicated to African queens, where we spoke about queens in Africa and how powerful they were. So these are issues we need to deal with. Somebody came with a post earlier on today. Some lady called, I don't know if you know her, Tony Tones. Tony Tones said, scrap bride price culture. Women are not property to be sold. And I said something like that in 2019, 30th of August 2019. Bride price is slavery. Now, some guy responded and said, 1 Samuel chapter 18, 25 to 27. Unfortunately for him, I know Bible. You know, some people don't know Bible, so he just bring out Bible verse and he speaks about bride price. And yes, he has a point. Let me read that verse to you. Go with me to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18 and 25. Very quickly. Like I said, today is going to be very short. 1 Samuel, chapter 18, and I'm reading from verse 25. He told them, tell David that all I want for bride price is 100 Philistine foreskins. Vengeance on my enemies is all I want. But what Saul had in mind was that David would be killed in the fight. David was delighted to accept the offer. Before the time expired, he and his men went and killed 200 Philistines. David fulfilled the king's requirement by presenting all the foreskins to him. So Saul gave his daughter Michal to David to be his wife. So, for David to marry a wife, his bride price was a genocide on the Philistines. Call it whatever you want to call it in the scriptures. Call it whatever you want to. But you see, I can brag about this. I can go against this today because of the blood of Christ. I dare not say this was wrong before, but I can say this is wrong now because Christ has died to equate David and Goliath. David is no longer more loved than Goliath. That was the old law. God chose whom he loved and for whatever reason. The scriptures say Jacob he loved and Esau he hated, even though the word does not mean hate directly, but still it shows that there was definitely favoritism. But if you now read Acts chapter 10, when Peter went to meet Cornelius, Peter clearly said, he declared, this shows that God does not show favoritism. So God used to show, but no longer shows simply because of the unifying blood of Christ on the cross that made us all equal. So David and Goliath are no longer enemies. Philistines are no longer the uncircumcised Philistines, because if you read Galatians chapter 3 and Galatians chapter 5, Paul clearly said that if you're looking to circumcision to make you right with God, you fall away from Christ and from the grace of God. So circumcision doesn't matter anymore. It mattered in the old law, but it doesn't matter anymore. So if someone can give the example of a genocide as the reason why bride price is scriptural, I worry, because it shows a departure from the understanding of the scriptures. It shows a misinformation and lack of direction. And I cannot teach that. You guys have got to understand. That is why the new law supersedes the old. The new law gives you a higher. You see, God hasn't changed. Let me give you an example. If tomorrow, right now, it's a Nigerian passport, if you want to go to the UK, you need a visa. Now, if tomorrow an announcement is made that all West African countries can enter the UK visa free, does that mean that the UK has changed? No. It just means that Nigeria has been upgraded. There is a new law now that now covers Nigeria in such a way that it is exempt from visa responsibilities and issues. Same thing with the new covenant. According to the old covenant, if you're a woman, you're the back. That is why one Jacob could marry two sisters. They gave him Leah, he complained. They gave him Rachel. How long later? So how long? 7 years was what he worked for, but they gave her to him 2 weeks later. So within 2 weeks, he had slept with two sisters. You can't get, there's no justification for that in the new covenant. And then both sisters came with their maids and gave their maids to Jacob. So before you know it, Jacob was sleeping with all of them, both sisters and both maids. That shows that one man can have 4 women. That's not a balance. That's not equality. And I don't preach that. Yes, one man can have 2 women and their maids. So many of you that, it's just like you coming home one day and seeing your husband with your maid. Won't you be angry? But the old law allows it. Abraham, Jacob's grandfather, did it. Jacob did it. So you've got to be careful how you take scriptures out of the old law and implement them because it suits your narrative. You've got to be careful. You are the same person shouting up and down that women are being maltreated, women are being cheated, women are this, women are that, women are that. People, pastors are taking advantage of women. This is that. Why wouldn't they if they're subjugated? Many women do not believe they are married until you've paid their bride price. Meanwhile, if you go to court today and tie it legally, you'd be good. Now, a lot of people will say, the court system, let me tell you, the best. I hate to sound hypocritical or whatever it is you guys are going to say I sound. The best form of marriage is court marriage. For women, it protects them. For men, the best form is traditional. That is why many men will never follow you to court to go and tie that wedding. Because they know that it does not favor them. But the court wedding, the white man's wedding, the European wedding, favors the women. So as long as your laws, your traditions, your cultures continue to subject women to hardship and pain and inequality and a disparity in opportunities, you will continue to have them migrate to the Western world. The wickedness of the African man to the African woman is what birthed feminism. Growing up, I hated feminists. Now, I am a feminist. Because initially, I wondered why the women were trying to drag equality. Why must a woman and her husband be equal? Isn't the man supposed to be the head of the home? But when I saw the amount of abuse that was being perpetrated under this patriarchal society, I was like, no, these women need a voice. Of course, I do not want the women's voice to now be exploited to the point where the women now suppress the men. That's an imbalance. I'm not looking for an imbalance, I'm looking for a balance. I want equality between men and women, equal opportunities, equal respect. If I can go through my wife's phone, she must be able to go through my phone. Some men will check their wives' phones, but their women dare not check their phones. That's inequality. Whatever obtains for the goose should obtain for the gander. So my problem with bride price is, if you make it a cute custom or tradition, there's nothing wrong with it. But as long as you make it a tool for oppression, I have paid your bride price. With that, I'm going to dictate your opportunities. A woman should at least have a say. I want to have 3 kids. I want to have 2 kids. I want to have 1 kid. It shouldn't be the man that will come and tell her that I want you to have 5. Of course, going forward, any of our children that has more than 1 child is stupid. Start teaching your children how to have one child. This world cannot contain all of us. Tomorrow people will be the ones shouting up and down that they want to depopulate the world. If you cannot check your own population with sense, what are you having all these children for? Are you selling them? Are you raising a poultry? So what am I trying to say in essence? The woman should be able to have a say in her body. If my daughter wants 1 child, then the husband says, no, if you cannot give me 3 children, get out of my house. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Women must be able to, a woman with an equal qualification as a man must be able to get an equal salary as a man. Now, for instance, if both of us are supposed to do the work, however, the man, because the work requires a lot of traveling that the woman cannot cope with, or a lot of physical exercise that the woman cannot cope with, and then the man is better paid because of those reasons, it makes sense. But if the 2 of us are hired to do exactly the same thing, and we do it exactly the same way, and we dedicate exactly the same time, and we are both equally efficient at what we do, we must earn the same amount. Somebody is saying, dear wife, it's only 2 you can give birth to, I cannot kill you. Beautiful. In this generation, you can have 2. Your children's generation, they cannot have 2. Oh. They cannot have 2. If we are not careful, you have all the children now, to get to the government will come. 300 years from now, government will come down and say you're not allowed to have children. Or they'll be picking who will have children. Because the world is going to be overpopulated. Whether you like it or not, there's only how many people and their waste that the world can contain. And here's the problem. The world has always been known to use a reset button. When the world just corrupts itself from beginning to the end, there's just that Noah reset, that Sodom and Gomorrah reset, then the world will reset and everybody will now have sense. There will now be maybe 50 people left. Those of you that can survive, you will now grow brain. Someone said, I did my wedding in the country, only $70. I'm not planning to pay any bride price. I don't want to be oppressed by any traditional list. My phone is open for my wife at any point. Simple. What's the use of you buying yam for the wife's family? What's the use of you, like my beautiful daughter? Habiba now, I'll now exchange her for goat. As in goat, not even giraffe or some exotic animal that I can say even has value. Goat, isiewu, abi ishiewu. That is what this my beautiful daughter is worth. Your daughter will read PhD, MSc, gather all the together, and then you exchange her for goat. It's nonsense. No, of course it is cute. If it is not like that goat and those yams, then let me tell you something. Wicked family members will now start sharing the money. It's nonsense. Then the family member, you bring 2 suitors, and the family sees that this one will pay them more, give them more goats. They will now follow that one. Nonsense. Our Brodarians, they will just call you, mom and dad, I'm getting married. Some people will just even send you the wedding picture and say, over the weekend I got married. What do you want to do? You want to kill yourself? So we've got to get to that point where if we really love our cultures and traditions, we have to make them kind to women. We have to make them appealing to our women. No woman should be taken away, no child should be ever taken away from his mother until that child is 18. Unless the mother is a drug addict or a hooker or something like that, or violent or mentally unstable. A normal woman should be left to raise her children. Any culture that takes children from the women and gives it to the men, let me tell you something, yeah. For one day, I never contested children with my ex. I contested a lot of things, but never children. Don't take children away from their mother. Never. You can check all the court papers. I never try to drag the children with her. Never. Even in my highest level of anger, let their mother raise them. Now, if the mother is now raising them and asking me for 1 million naira a month, then we will have fight. I'm going to give them what I think I can afford, and I'll encourage that we spend time together. But beyond that, no. And men need to learn this. A typical Nigerian man would want to take that's why many women, listen, your marriage is not working. You guys are beating each other. You should go. But you know why many women don't go? Because they know that if they go, they'll lose their children. So the women are staying with you not because they love you, but simply because they know that they stand to lose a lot by leaving you. Let us not raise our women that will make up their minds considering what they stand to lose. When in other cultures, the woman's not going to lose in the US. She's not going to lose. She's actually going to gain a house. You're the one that's going to get out. Same thing in the UK. Now, there's another thing that somebody else raised in a post today. He said, in Igbo custom and culture, every child born by a wife in a marriage automatically belongs to her husband. There's no contesting it. DNA/paternity test is out to destroy the marriage institution as we know it. Most of our fathers, grandfathers, and great-grandfathers were not the actual biological parents of the children. So sometimes I ask, what do you want to do with a paternity test when your own paternity is in doubt? My paternity is not in doubt. Oh. If your own paternity is in doubt, if your man no sit down for one place and your paternity dey in doubt, now you and God and your mama, go ask your mama question. My paternity is not in doubt. If you look at me and look at my father, you will see the resemblance. Forget that one is yellow, the other one is black. My paternity is not in doubt. Listen, let me explain something to you. I can get married to a woman who has kids. It's not a problem. But that I'll be raising a child, then 10 years later I find out that it's not my child. Zero. That marriage is over. Zero. When it's not like, God forbid, something happened and she was harassed and she didn't know she got pregnant. Those are totally different things. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or maybe she was drugged. And then, I've heard of cases where women's drinks are spiked and they don't know something happened to them. But you know the temperament of your woman and you know that, oh, this is, and you investigate. Of course, you're going to investigate it. That's totally different. But that a woman will just bring a child and tell you that, according to these are the nonsense, senseless traditions that we need to throw out of, not even the door, throw through this into the sewer. That is, put it in the toilet and flush. These are traditions that bear no semblance to reason. And as long as we keep these traditions, we're going to keep departing away from the truth. Let me tell you something. Christ never put women beneath him. There was a woman who was, even a sinful woman who was washing his hair or his feet with her hair. What did Christ say about her? He spoke well of her. What about the Samaritan woman at the well, where he told the same story he later told his disciples in John chapter 6? And the disciples all deserted him. Meanwhile, he told that same story to a woman 2 chapters earlier. And the woman went to bring a whole Samaritan town to him. And he stayed 2 extra days in Samaria for the same thing he told men. And the men abandoned him. So at what point do these men have an advantage over women? Mary sat at his feet while he taught. Martha criticized Christ. 2 clear examples in the scriptures. One, when she told Christ that, come, why is she sitting here with you? Shouldn't she be with me cooking the dinner? The other one was, where were you that our brother died? So women were not subjugated. They were not locked in a closet and say, you are useful in the kitchen and in the other room. No. Christ treated women as precious. The society didn't. Because if you read the feeding of the 5,000, only the men were counted. Women and children were not counted. So yes, we live in a patriarchal society where women are not counted. Even during the time of Christ, they weren't counted. But Christ counted the women. The society didn't, but Christ did. And I'm not a follower of the Jewish society. Neither am I a follower of the Igbo or Yoruba society. I am a follower of Christ. And Christ taught me to respect women. Christ taught me to raise women to my level. Christ taught me to love my woman and appreciate and respect her. And I'll urge you to do the same. God bless you.